We're going to go over current market trends and see, is there really a shortage happening right now? Well, let's talk about that. So I'm going to actually introduce you to a couple of our screens and everything on some of the data we pull. So what I'm going to go over, again, if you're listening to this on a Audible or a podcast, I apologize, but you can check it out on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're going to get you this information. I'm also popping up over here. We're going Facebook Live, or you can have LinkedIn Live, but we're going to go into Facebook Live. Anybody wants to comment during this, hop on in and let's talk about current market trends. And is there a shortage? Okay. And, I do a used car weekly on CBT News. Catch it next Thursday. I talk about what the hurricane impact might be, but a little bit of it I'm going to talk about right now. So I'm going to actually pull up, I'm going to share my screen. All right. And let's go over here to this one. And I'm going to pull up some of the information that we do track. And I'm going to pull back even a few years ago. We can go all the back to 2017. But let's just look at 2019. And again, you could look at these levels. In 2019, right around where we at, September range here, 9,000. Okay, so we would track how many. This happens to be a Ford dealership in Michigan, and we would do a 100-mile radius of his store on how many used Fords, new Ford, and certified Fords. Okay, and you can see here on the 4th of September and or September 11th. If we go into that range there, I think is the next date. You can see about 9. Let's look at autotradercars.com. 99, 9,600. Average that out to about 9,700 used cars listed on those sites. Okay, again, we can go back years after years and take a peek at some of this stuff. 8,600 cars on cars.com. So that was used Fords in that dealership's market. Now, we're currently also doing this right now. We go back to June here, and we're looking now in 2021. And if you look currently, there's 9,500 on Auto Trader, 9,500 on cars.com. Okay, so really, again, average around 9,000. Not much difference. You might be able to say 5 to 10% difference, but it fluctuates. How many used Fords in that dealership's market? Matter of fact, if you look, how many new Fords are coming into his market and how many certified Fords. So if you're this dealer and you're a Ford store and 50+% of your inventory is Fords, you're going to have to, any of them late models, you're going to have to compete against some of these new and or certified listings. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a thing. I mean, it means a lot to him, but we also track. I mean, I have a dealership in Chicago, a Honda store, and new Hondas are down, used Hondas are down, certified Hondas. So it's a little bit different for that guy. But then you switch over to a Chrysler store, and I'm looking at Rams are increasing, both new and used Rams and certified Chryslers. Those are actually moving up. Well, my point here is we also look nationally. Now, I'm just looking back at June. But again, when we look at regional, the numbers don't matter. When we talk about used cars, you go back here to June. Now, I think we had a little bit of a hiccup in some of the data pull right there on cars. There was a little bit of a drop off, and I don't think they lost 300,000 cars. But let's just go back to June 14th. You've got 1.4 and 1.2 million cars listed on these sites. And again, 1.4 and 1.2 million cars listed on these sites. So since June, so we got June, you got July, you got August, you got September. Now, when it comes to new cars, yes, a big drop off, 1 million and then 960,000 down to 500. You're talking new car inventory cut in half, but used car inventory is level. In the nation. Okay, there's really not much movement, maybe 1 or 2% less. But again, just used cars in general, in a 100-mile radius of this dealership. If we go back to May, 46 and 43,000 to, let's just look at Auto Trader again. The cars had a little bit inconsistencies, but Auto Trader 46,000 used to 51,000, just used in general. Lincolns, are actually running roughly about the same, maybe a little bit drop off. So certified Fords, again, there's been an uptick here recently with some of the certified Fords. But as a whole, at least over the last 3 or 4 months, there's not a shortage of used cars. And compared to 2019 and 18 levels, I mean, it's not that far off of what is available. So my point with that is, yeah, new car shortage, hear you out. Used car shortage, there's still plenty available. And, again, typically, the shopper counts are dropping off 10, 15, 20% going into these slower months. Let me also show you some of our other stats. We track our dealers as far as our top performing dealerships, based on maybe our login activity versus just their numbers. So the yellow and the green are our better dealers versus the dealers in the red not logging in and stuff to the systems. And what I wanted to point out here, there's a separation gap. Over here on the left is what have they sold in a 2-week period. I'm going to want our dealerships to sell 50% in 2 weeks, so they're selling 100% in a 4-week period. So you can see here the yellow and the green. The dealers that are actively looking at their inventory, 52% are selling in a 2-week period. That means 104% in a 4-week period. So they're selling what they're carrying. The top 10 dealers, 46%. That puts them at 92% of what they're carrying, they're selling. Versus the dealers not really logging in at 41%. They're only selling 80. So that math means, again, down here, if we're carrying 100, the goal is to sell 100. Again, our yellow and green dealers are going to be in the 90s and 100, where the zero login dealers are only selling 80. So there's a gap now. Before, when the market was hot, the good and the bad were running the same thing. Go back here to May. Again, that big spring season we had here with COVID, that big spike and stuff. If you go back to March, April, and May range, everybody was doing awesome. Now the market's starting to normalize and the good are outperforming the bad, okay? Both in the volume, and then let's talk about gross. We want dealers to sell 60+ % of their sales in the first 30 days so they can get gross. So again, the yellows and the greens are right there. 60 and 50% of their sales are going out in the first 30 days, where the other dealers are selling 10% less, 50% in the first 30 days. So again, my point being is the market is normalizing. So the dealers that are paying attention, okay, yeah, they're still trying the market out, still trying to hold out. They're not getting to the ideal numbers I'd like to see them at, because again, they're trying to figure out what's happening in this market. Can I still hold out? We've come off record months. Everybody's talking about shortages. I just showed you there really isn't, on used listings at least, that many shortages of vehicles out there. And our traditional seasonal adjustment is, by October, November, December, the shopper activity drops off. The people and there's less and less shoppers. And here, I want to validate with you, because again, I want to back up what I'm bringing to you. I don't want you to doubt what I'm talking about here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to Google and typing in used cars to see how many people are going to Google and typing in used cars. So how many people are shopping. And if we look at the past 5-year trend, 5 years, okay? If you look at the peak was at 100, okay? The peak every 5 years is that February, March range, okay? Every 5 years, in February is a peak, okay, of people. Now this is last year's COVID drop off, and then the peak happened this February and March, right? So the lowest part of shopper activity, look, December. See, look, September, October, November, December. Go back over here, September, October, November, December. Let's go back to next year, September, October, November, December. Okay. Let's go back to 2019, October, November, December. Okay. So what do you think? Let's go to last year, even COVID year, August, September, October, November, December. Okay. The activity. So what do you think's happening this year? I would guess it goes back to what it's been doing over the last 5 years. Okay. So everybody is talking about the shortage and hold on. Fine. Go ahead. But based on what I see, both on comparing inventory levels to a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, the used car listings availability hasn't changed a whole lot. Maybe 5 to 10% less cars listed online. The last 5 years of shopper trend activity shows me they're going to start dropping off October, November, December. Now, unless you're in some kind of snowbird market in Florida where a lot of snowbirds come fly in those months and buy cars, okay, I get it. But I would challenge you. I bet those snowbird buyers are probably new car buyers too. But anyways, okay, that's the market. That's how the market's been running. Now, we can get thrown a curveball, but I think if any curveball is going to be thrown to us, is going to be the fact that the market gets worse. Okay. Unemployment gets worse. Inflation gets worse. People stop spending money going into the holiday. Availability on things that they do want to buy, or, inflation gets worse and their money's getting stretched more. Gas prices going up. If anything, it's probably going to get worse and not better. Okay. So based on the last 5 years of trending information, it tell me it's going to get light. So go into this last quarter, use September to straighten up your inventory for October, November, December. Get ready for it. It's coming. It comes every year. Okay. Inventory levels. Yeah. Everybody talks about shortages, but the other thing I want you to get, I mentioned this before, during the recession in 08, 09, I was helping dealerships, traveling the country, helping dealerships maintain their franchises, and they focused on used, because we went from like 15, 16 million new car sales down to 10 million new car sales. Dealers lost their franchises. They went out of business. They transitioned to used car lots, whatever. They focused on used. Customers, we didn't gain 5 to 6 million new used car customers. Customers just didn't buy. New stay new, used stayed used. And yeah, maybe there's some transition, but not a big enough impact to increase used car sales by 5 to 7 million. So you could compare that to this year. We talk about all this shortages, but the SARS, the projection for the end of the year new car sales volume, is at 15 million still. That's 5 million more than we talked about during the recession. So, as dire as it seems and as empty as your lot is, I get it. But understand, the market's solid when it comes to the cars available for sale, and the customers don't have to do nothing. Just because you got to go to lane and overpay for stuff doesn't mean the customer has to overpay. They're stopped doing it. I've stopped doing it. You've stopped doing it. You're just going to wait until they become available at a better price, unless you actually need something. So keep an eye out for it. This is what we're seeing. Again, subscribe if you like this information helpful. If you want to see how we can help you at Lotpop stay ahead of all this, we watch those trends. We can see how your market is, how your used car listings go in new car. Like I said, some markets it's lower. Honda store in Chicago, there's less used Hondas. There's less new Hondas. He's got to hold out and be proud of his Hondas. But other stores, Chrysler stores, I'm seeing an uptick in new, uptick in used. Fords, I'm seeing an uptick in new, I'm seeing an uptick in used. I'm seeing an uptick in certified. So for that guy, we're going to adjust quicker. For the other guy, the Honda store, we're going to hold longer. So you just got to understand your dealership and then your market, to then start making adjustments and then be prepared what traditionally happens out there. Lotpop.com. Hope this was good and helpful for you.